Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, where I have new videos every week about books and the geeky mom lifestyle. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my September book haul. We are almost at the end of September. How did we get here so quickly? I have quite a number of books to share with you. Some of these are books that were sent to me for review from publishers and PR companies. Some of these are books that I purchased for myself. But first, I thought I would share a stack of books that I bought from my local indie bookstore because, very exciting news, they finally started buying books back again. And I had been storing a bunch of books in my closet that I was unhauling, waiting for them to do their buyback program. They finally reopened. I sold like 50 books and ended up with a pretty good amount of store credit and went ahead and did a whole book shopping trip spending that store credit, which was very exciting. If you are interested in seeing that whole book shopping vlog, it's going to be available as a members only video. So if you want to join as a YouTube channel member at the Ravenous Reader level, then you will have access to that. The join button should be on the screen down below. But everybody is going to get to see the books that I picked up, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start with that stack, because they're ones I'm excited for. Okay, so as an FYI, I had about $111 in store credit, which was great, and almost all of the books that I got for myself using the store credit were full price, with one exception, which I will talk about. If you saw the vlog, you might know I also did buy 3 of the Magic Treehouse books for my kids. Those were not included in the store credit, but yeah, so all of this together, including tax, was right around that $111 mark, and for that I got 6 books. Now, normally I would not get so many books full price, but with the store credits, you know. First up was a book that I was very excited to see because I did not know it had come out in paperback. It must have just come out. This was my favorite book of 2019, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. A very different cover. This is the original hardcover, but I do really like the new cover, actually. It fits the story if you guys have read it. There's a boat on the sea through this sort of keyhole thing. There's a bee above the entryway. I really love it. I like this cover. I think it's kind of cool. Did I already own 2 copies of this? Yes. Did I still buy the paperback? Yes. Yes, I did. And it's pretty small. Like, if you look at the size difference, it is much smaller, but this is kind of the perfect size for having as a reading copy, so I'm really happy to have this. I might not have picked this up anytime soon if I didn't have the store credit, so I kind of used this as a nice opportunity to grab a couple of things that were on my wish list, and this would have been on my wish list if I had known it existed, but when I saw it on the table I was like, yes, that is going to be going into my collection for sure. Next up is another book that I recently read but wanted to own my own copy of, and that is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I loved this. If you haven't seen me talk about this yet, I will link my mid-month wrap-up for September up above where I go in detail. This is Alyssa Cole's first horror/thriller novel that addresses the issue of gentrification. Fans of the movie Get Out will probably enjoy this. It has similar pacing and not exactly the same themes, but some crossover. I really loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. Alyssa Cole is one of my favorite authors. I love her romances, and I loved this too. I had listened to it as an audiobook, as an audio influencer copy from Libra FM, but I really wanted to own a physical copy, so I picked one up on my shopping trip. The only book that I bought that was not full price was a used copy of another book that I have read, and then we'll get to the 3 books I bought that I have not read. So I'm pretty happy with this also. I bought 6 books, but 3 of them are books that I've already read and knew I wanted to own. I'm only adding 3 books to my physical TBR. That said, the other one I grabbed is Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. She's the author of The Bear and the Nightingale, but this was her first middle grade story. It's a middle grade horror novel that I really loved. It's tackling grief, but with these really spooky scarecrows, and I loved it. I do want to read on in the series, but I haven't had the chance to yet. And what was nice is, because it's used, this one was only $8.50, so grabbed that one with store credit as well. It's one that's been on my wish list for over a year, where I've wanted to eventually own a copy to have on my shelves, and this seemed like a great time to pick it up. Moving on to the new books that I have not yet read, I decided to get the third volume in the Senlin Ascends series. This is The Harlequin by Josiah Bancroft. Some of you might know Senlin Ascends is one of my favorite books that I've read this year. I recently purchased Arm of the Sphinx, which is book 2, but I know I want to kind of go the distance with the series. Book 4 is coming out next year, and I think that's the end of it. Hopefully in the next few months I will be able to continue on with this. This one was slightly less than full price. It was like $14.50, but close to full price. Then I picked up 2 brand new YA books that had also been on my wish list. One of them is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. This is the sequel to Serpent and Dove, which I really liked last year. This is YA fantasy romance, and people have had very mixed feelings about this series. I think partly because if you're going into this looking for really amazing world building and a really incredible fantasy, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed because it's more a fantasy romance than it is a fantasy. It's in a fantasy world, and the fantasy world building is like perfectly fine for a romance, but the strength of it, at least to me, was the romance, although other people disagree with me on that too, so, you know, to each their own. But I did really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to continuing on in the series. Also, I mean, this book is just stunning, so I got that. And then the final book is another one I knew I was going to add to my collection, because I always do with this author. That is The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu, the second book in the Eldest Curses series. I love Magnus. Magnus's Bay, Magnus and Alex story is fantastic. I really enjoyed the first book in the series and the Red Scrolls of Magic, and knew I wanted to add it. I love the Shadowhunter universe, and these are great. One thing that's interesting is we did get a cover change. So the paperback version of Red Scrolls of Magic has this new type of cover. However, if you like the other covers, there's a very cool secret. If you look under the dust jacket, it is reversible, and the underside of the dust jacket is done in the original style. So you have an option of what you want your book to look like. Some people apparently did not know that that was a thing, so FYI. This is another one I'm hoping to read maybe by the end of the year. Sometime when I just want something that I know I'm going to enjoy, because this is going to be like an easy slam dunk for me. And I think having store credit, I felt like, okay, I can get the stuff that I really want to buy, even though it's a little more expensive than I might normally spend money on, because it feels different, if that makes any sense. So there you have it. Those are the 6 books that I bought with my store credit from the Strands. All those books I unhauled, this is the result, and I'm not mad about it. Go support your indie bookstores. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the book haul. The first category I want to share is books that were sent to me for review by authors. Some of you guys might know I do review a limited number of indie titles. I usually only have 1 slot available per month, so these books are filling out the rest of the year. So if you're interested in an indie review, let me know in January. There will be some more slots available. First up, I have 2 books that were sent to me by Patrick D. Kaiser. First up, we have Crimson Minds. He writes novels in verse, which sound pretty interesting, and he is an autistic author, so that's kind of cool. This one sounded interesting. It's the first in a trilogy. All these books are out. It said humans use only 10% of our minds, but what if there are some who can use more? In modern-day Chicago, 3 gangs of psychic youth vie for power, led by their kings, each one seeking to control the city. Unfortunately for them, Daniel Kavanaugh has no interest in such matters. His only concern is to find the truth of his father and sister's murder. It's got some psychic elements to it with gangs, and yeah, I am actually going to be reading this very soon from when I am filming this video. By the time you see this, I hopefully will have already read this one. And then the newest book that he's released, and I kind of love the cover of this one, is Frost, book 1 in the Deathbringer Chronicles. Another novel written in verse, but this sounded super interesting. I am a fan of like a villain story, and that seems to be what this is. It says, everyday people living everyday lives, not knowing the legends, myths, and fairy tales they tell their children are real. Goblins, trolls, magic, not to mention Jack Frost, the world's most notorious criminal, the master escape artist, and one cool lady. Jack currently finds herself training Nathan Masterson, a protege who now finds himself drawing attention from the organization, the magical government's law enforcement group. on the run for a murder he didn't commit and struggling with the secrets of his past. Is he seeing double or is someone out to frame him? So this is kind of cool. I like that we have a female villain, Jack Frost. Sounds like fun, so hopefully going to be reading that in the next couple months as well. And then finally we have one that I think is releasing in October, if I'm not mistaken. This is an ARC copy. It's The Last Angel Warrior by John W. Wells III, first book in the Caleb Andrews Chronicles. It's a YA kind of urban fantasy story. When Caleb Andrews imagined his 16th birthday, he never thought his adoptive parents would try to kill him, or that he'd spend it running away from the Order, a secret society seeking the blood of the last angel warrior to raise a lost goddess. Then again, Caleb never suspected that angels, demons, Nephilim, and Magicborn even existed, and he never, even in his wildest dreams, thought he was one of them. So this one seems like it's going to be a fun, kind of fast-paced YA action adventure with magic. Looking forward to picking it up. So thank you to the authors for sending me those books for review. Then I have some books that were sent to me this month from publishers. First up is a book that I already read as an e-arc and loved, and I'm thrilled to have a physical copy. So thank you so much to Penguin Teen. This is The Companion by Katie Allender. I loved this so much. I read this in August. I'll link that video up above where I talk about this. I think it's in my end of month August wrap up. So good, guys. It's a YA gothic horror novel that's so smart and so twisty, and I really, really enjoyed this one. Very happy to be adding this to my shelves, so go check it out, and thank you to Penguin Teen. If you guys can't tell, I'm starting to get more physical books sent to me again than I had been previously. So I have quite a few more from publishers, and then I do have some more books that I bought for myself this month. First up, as always, I have some great titles that were sent to me for promotion on Instagram from Harlequin, so thank you to the Harlequin publicity team. First, we have The Love Study by Chris Ripper. This is part of their Karina Adores line, which takes common romance tropes and centers queer characters in them. So this one sounds really interesting. It follows a guy named Declan who is going on a series of dates trying to figure out if there's something wrong with him because he feels like he just doesn't have chemistry with anybody, until he meets Sydney, who is a popular non-binary YouTuber, and sparks begin to fly. So I'm wondering if maybe Declan is supposed to be demisexual. I've heard a couple of good things about this, and it sounds great, and I like that we're getting a romance with a non-binary character. So if you guys are interested, by the time this video goes up, this should be either available or about to come out. Then we are starting to get holiday romances, guys, and I have The Merriest Magnolia by Michelle Major. I'm excited for this. I read the first book in the series and really enjoyed it. It's set in a small town and has really interesting characters and great dynamics. This one follows another one of the sisters from that story and is set around Christmas. So I will be reading and reviewing this one. And then I also have 3 books from some of Harlequin's lines. First up, we have Home for the Baby's Sake by Christine Rimmer. This is one of their special editions about a real estate developer who has to raise his infant son and ends up following for a theater director. Love the cover on this one. This is After Hours Redemption by Kiana Alexander. This is a second chance romance between a songwriter and a record executive. Their red hot reunion is off the charts. And then if you are looking for a sweeter romance, we have Alaskan Christmas Redemption by Belle Calhoun. Before he gives his heart, he'll have to forgive himself. Another holiday romance that looks super cute. Thank you so much to Harlequin for all of those. If you guys are interested, feel free to go and check them out. Then one that's going to be going on my TBR for next month is The Wedding Date Disaster by Avery Flynn. This one was sent to me from a PR company. It's a rom-com from Entangled Publishing. It's a woman going home for a wedding who's supposed to be escorted by her guy best friend. But instead, the person who picks her up is his evil twin, and sparks fly during the wedding weekend. So that one sounds like fun. Another one that I will be reviewing soon. And then lastly, for romance, Little Bird Publicity sent me one that's exciting. This is Return to Virgin River by Robin Carr. Virgin River is apparently now a Netflix series that's been pretty popular. I haven't seen it, but I know some people really enjoy it, and I do like Robin Carr. She writes small town romance that's a little bit on the sweeter side and more character driven, and I tend to enjoy her books. I've not read any of the Virgin River ones, but I guess this is the first new Virgin River book she's written in 8 years, and this one is a holiday romance. So I have this lovely hardcover copy that was sent to me from Little Bird Publicity. Thank you to them. I am hoping to read and review this one soon, and maybe if you guys are interested, I might check out the Netflix series, or at least like watch a few episodes of it and see how it is. If you guys would be interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. 2 more books from publishers, and then we will move on to the rest of the books that I bought myself this month. Yeah, a lot of physical ARCs this month, which is exciting. First up, by Quirk Books, I've got This Is Not the Just Show by Anna Carey. This sounds super interesting. I'm really excited for it. It's a YA book that, when is this one coming out? I know they changed the date. This was originally coming out earlier, and then I think because of COVID, it got pushed back. So this is coming out on November 17th. I'm hoping to read this one in October. This one sounds very intriguing. It sounds a lot like some books that I recall reading when I was a teenager. It says it's like Black Mirror meets My So-Called Life. It follows a teenager who's just kind of trying to get through her regular life, but her hometown feels weirder and weirder, and sometimes when she walks into the room, conversations cut off. And then one day, a tiny, sleek black device with an Apple logo on it falls out of her best friend's backpack and lands at Jess's feet. But the year is 1998, and the first iPhone won't exist for another 9 years. Super intriguing, right? I like get chills reading it. I'm so excited for this. I love this sort of thing. So hopefully that'll be a good time. Thank you to Quirk Books. And then Orbit sent me No Fet Gloss by Essa Hansen. Another one I'm really excited for. This one is coming out November 17th. This one is a debut space opera that I know has some kind of Own Voices queer representation in it, although I don't know the details. It sounds really interesting. Enter a universe of daring space battles and impossible technology. A universe where whole planets can be destroyed in the blink of an eye, and where the galaxy's most valuable substance, No Fet Gloss, is in the hands of the one young man who will tear it all down. So this one sounds really interesting. Definitely looking forward to picking it up pretty soon. Okay, and then lastly, I've got several other books that I bought this month. First up, and this should come as no surprise, I decided to get a finished copy of Raybearer by Jordan E. Fuego. I really loved this. It's one of my favorite books of the year, and it is a debut African-inspired YA fantasy novel that is fantastic. Really great world building, lots of twists and turns, interesting characters, diverse representation, good thematic content. Like, everything about this is really, really good. I hope to reread it at some point before book 2 comes out, but I did want to own a finished copy. It's really beautiful, and this is from Abrams Books, if you all are interested. And look at that beautiful book under the cover. I'm so thrilled for Jordan because this has done really well and became a bestseller, which it's deservedly so. This is a really fantastic book. I would recommend checking it out. And I had an ARC. Now I've got a finished copy. Next, I have 2 books that I bought for a video project that I'm going to be working on, where I recommend books with good fat rep in romance. And so for that project, I picked up On the Plus Side by Alison Bliss. She is a UK-based romance author who writes books about plus-size women finding love, and I hear really good things about them. I hear the representation is good. I have not read from her previously, but people seem to really like this one, so I'm gonna give that one a shot. And then the other one I picked up is The Heiress Effect by Courtney Milan. I've really enjoyed Courtney Milan a lot, and reason to buy more of her books anyway. This one apparently is a historical that does have a plus-size heroine, despite what the cover may seem to be. And this is one thing that I find irritating. There's been a couple of historicals that I've read recently where in the book the heroine is described as curvy or fat, but you would never know it from looking at the cover. So that's a thing. But I also bought this one for that project. Okay, 3 more books to share. First, I decided to buy Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is a book that I keep hearing people talk about, and every time they describe it, I think, you know, that sounds like the kind of book I would enjoy, even though on its face, this is not something that would draw me in. It's kind of an Asian-inspired, I guess, urban fantasy story, maybe, that has gangster families, and normally gangsters is not something that I would gravitate towards, but every time I hear people talk about this book, they talk about how amazing the characters are and how great the world building is and the twists and turns, and I'm like, okay, I need to give this a try at some point. So I decided to pick up a copy, so it is officially on my TBR. I do want to read this one. It's a longer book, but like I have not heard anything really negative about it, so I need to give it a try. Then late last month there were a couple of books that were on sale and I decided to grab them. First up we have Sisters of the Vast Black by Lena Rather. This is a Tor.com novella, which, I mean, I have many Tor.com novellas. I'm kind of a sucker for them. But this one sounded really interesting. It's mixing an exploration of religion with sci-fi in a way that just sounds really fascinating. It says, years ago, old Earth sent forth sisters and brothers into the vast dark of the prodigal colonies, armed with only crucifixes and iron faith. Now, the Sisters of the Order of St. Rita are on an interstellar mission of mercy aboard Our Lady of Impossible Constellations, a living, breathing ship that seems determined to develop a will of its own. When the Order receives a distress call from a newly formed colony, the sisters discover that the bodies and souls in their care, and that of the galactic diaspora, are in danger, and not from the void beyond, but from the nascent central governance and the church itself. And it's a novella, so it's not super long, but that premise is so intriguing. I really, really like it when sci-fi fantasy explore like religion and religious structures, and this just sounds like something I would enjoy. So I decided to get that. I'm trying to remember where I heard about it. I want to say it might have been from Rachel with the Shades of Orange booktube channel, but I'm not sure. I saw it on a booktuber's channel somewhere and thought, I bet I would like that. And then I decided to grab a book that I originally heard about from Injiri over at Onyx Pages, and it's another one that sounds like something I would enjoy. This is Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. It's another sci-fi novel that sounds really interesting. The main character is a black woman, and I don't really know much else about this. I just know that every time I've heard someone talk about it, I always think that sounds great. I need to read it. So I finally picked up a copy. So there you go. Those are all of the books that I bought in the month of September. It is like a lot of stuff was sent to me this month, and then I bought quite a few books, but I had all that store credit, so there was that. You might be wondering about Book of the Month Club because I usually do it. I am still subscribed to them, but I didn't really want any of their 5 choices this month, so I skipped the month. And I like the fact that you can do that with them. If you're like, they're perfectly fine choices, they just weren't things that I thought I was going to care to own at this point. So I skipped the month, and you might be seeing them again next month, depending on what they pick. Anyway, with all that said, talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on any of the books that I talked about today. And for your question of the day, tell me how you would deal with store credit. So if you sell books to an indie bookstore and you have store credit, how do you think about spending that? Would you treat it the same way as if it was like actual dollars from your bank account? Or would you do what I did and be more likely to pick up stuff that's just on your wish list that might not normally be as high of a priority? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.